Hello and welcome to Think Watercolour. Today's demonstration is this sketch of an imagined view based on my many visits to the Lake District in Cumbria, northwest England, which is known for its landscape, including its lakes, the coast, and more importantly, its famous peaks. I want to demonstrate a couple of techniques with this sketch. First, how to paint cloud-covered mountains, and secondly, how to use the dry brush technique to suggest texture on hillsides in a landscape. I've loosely outlined the mountain and hillsides, and I'm going to start with a weak mix of cerulean blue with a little bit of cobalt blue for the blue sky above some white clouds that are just clipping the top of the distant mountain. I'm just using a damp clean brush with some clean water just to soften the edge of those clouds. For the hillside in the middle distance, I'm starting with some cobalt blue and burnt sienna for a warm grey mix, and then dropping in some imperial purple just to let it blend on the paper. Then I've added some sepia, just letting it all blend wet in wet on the page. And finally, I'm just going to drop in a few streaks of burnt sienna, again letting it all blend and mix. And to avoid drying with a hard edge, I've just softened the base with some clean water. Here I'm just brushing some clean water where the cloud is going to clip the top of that distant mountain. The colour I'm using for the mountain is a mixture of cobalt blue and alizarin crimson. I'm just letting it blend into that area of clean water that I painted before, and then I'm just painting below it so that it just blends gently into the wetness of the paper. You get a nice soft edge to suggest there's a cloud just scudding across the top of the mountain, with the peak just poking out above the clouds. Just lifting out with a damp brush, making sure that I try and maintain the whiteness of the paper. The trick when you're lifting out like this is to make sure that your brush is clean, using clean water. And just wipe the water off the brush so that it's just damp. Then just drag it across where you want to lift out, and then wipe it again and repeat if you need to. Just strengthening the base of that mountain a little bit. The reason I'm using this lighter colour is to suggest distance. Cooler, lighter colours tend to fade into the background in the painting, and warmer and stronger colours tend to come forward as a general rule. Although while it's wet, I can still add a little bit more pigment. Once more, I've let everything dry. I'm now using that imperial purple mix. I've strengthened it a little bit more with some more of the imperial purple, just to paint this foreground hillside, and then dropping in some burnt sienna, letting it blend wet in wet on the paper. This is all going to dry much lighter, and I'll probably have to darken it later, but I just want to get the shape of the hillside in. And just softening it into that middle distance hill. I don't want there to be a hard edge between the two at the bottom end of the hillside. I want to suggest that there's a sort of a valley going around the other side of the hillside. This is Naples yellow, just blending it all in wet again. Again, just dragging the brush along the shape of that distant hill. Just create a few streaks in the painting. Just dropping in more and more pigment while it's wet. This will all blend together and create a nice variety of shades and colours on that hillside. Just using the brush to just lift a few streaks in that distant hillside. Try and create a little bit of texture without putting in too much detail. It's far away. I don't want the eye to be distracted by too much information on that hillside. Okay, I've let all that dry, and it's dried a little bit light for me, so I'm just darkening it again with some more of that Imperial Purple. It does have a tendency to dry lighter, Imperial Purple, so be aware of that if you do use it. Again, just adding some more burnt sienna, letting it blend wet in wet. Never be frightened to go over a painting once it's dry if you're not happy with the colour, if you want to strengthen it. I'm just using the side of the brush, and as I put some pigment on, I just drying it off on a piece of kitchen towel, so that's lifting out some of the water from the brush, so that it's not too wet as I drag it along, and you get this nice textured effect. This is Saunders 300 gram rough paper, so you've got a nice texture to pick up with the side of the brush. You have to be careful not to overdo it with this, because you'll end up losing the texture, but just letting it blend wet in wet a little bit as well. And just strengthening the top of that hillside there. It's just it was just drying a little bit weak for me. And just strengthening the distant mountain. It's dried very weak, and I just want it to stand out a little bit more than it is at the moment. Not too much, just enough to lift it so that it shows the clouds a bit better. Again, softening the edge with a damp brush. Once again, I've let the paper dry, and I'm now using fairly strong mix of the darker colours, sepia and some green as well, and I'm just using the side of that brush to pick up that texture, to create a little bit more detail in the foreground closer to us. And finally, the hill looked a little bit too purple for me, so I'm just going over it with some sepia and a little bit of Naples yellow, just to kill the purpleness of the hillside a little bit. I think it'll look better for it. Once again, I've let the painting dry completely, and decided that I just need a little bit more green at the base of the hills. These hills tend to be greener at more verdant at the bases, where they create valleys, and they're usually quite green valleys. And just putting a fairly thin wash of sap green, which I think tends to add a little bit more life to the painting, and just finishes it off nicely. And as you can see, the transparency of watercolour allows that the roughness that I applied earlier, using the texture of the paper to show through. And I think I'm pretty much done. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you found this demonstration useful. Always remember that patience is a virtue when it comes to watercolours. Let your washes dry fully before continuing if you have any doubts. And when you're painting clouds surrounding mountain tops like this, it's a good idea to let each wash dry first before you continue. If you did find the video useful, do give it a like. It really helps with YouTube. If you're not a subscriber, do subscribe and hit the notification bell. I do try to post every week to 10 days when I can. And once again, thanks for watching.